Why is it always instant ramen this and instant ramen that when we all know the true star of our childhood was this little blue box? So why don't we give it the upgrades it deserves? No matter where you're from or who raised you, there is a 99.99999% chance that this little blue box played a vital role in your culinary childhood. But then we got older and started talking about roux and bechamels and all this fancy stuff, and we forgot where we came from. And that's why today we're gonna be taking our humble blue box mac and cheese and giving it 3 tastefully delicious upgrades. Starting with level 1 is going to be our sleeper mac and cheese. Now out of all 3 today, this one is going to resemble traditional, regular old box mac and cheese the closest, but it's gonna be a little bit extra. It's gonna look familiar, but it's gonna taste better. It's also the easiest. We're gonna start off by grating 4 ounces of medium cheddar cheese. This is gonna give us that cheddary taste, not necessarily the cheese pull that we're looking for, but that's where our second cheese comes in. And when making mac and cheese, no matter which one of these you're making, I'm going to recommend highly, please don't use pre-shredded cheese, because pre-shredded cheese is gonna have anti-coating agents all over it, like cornstarch or potato starch, that then gets inside your mac and cheese and makes it a lot harder to be cheesy, if that makes sense. All right, so we have about 2 ounces of shredded medium cheddar cheese, and then we are going to do 2 ounces of Gruyere. And if it wasn't abundantly clear already, I still am missing my box grater, but I'm making it work. And now I've got about 2 ounces of shredded Gruyere cheese. Now this is going to be our cheese pull. This is gonna give us that melty, pully cheesiness, and it's gonna give us just a little bit more cheesy flavor, but really a lot of it's coming from that cheddar cheese. Oh, totally missed all this stuff on the bottom. Then we have a couple green onions, and we're just gonna go ahead and thinly slice those. They're gonna go on right at the end as a nice little garnish. All you need to do is just thinly slice these. I like to cut them on a bias just because it gives them a little bit cooler of a shape, but cut them however you like. If you want to cut them straight up, if you want to cut them on a bias, if you want to cut them nice and long and stringy, like whatever you want to do. This is a choose your own adventure game. And now before we move on to actually cooking our mac and cheese, because that is literally all the prep that we need, we're going to talk about our last ingredient, which is either going to be sour cream or cream cheese. Now you have 2 options here that are going to give you 2 different results. If we go with the sour cream, it's going to be a little thinner, but a little silkier. If we go with the cream cheese, it's going to be a little bit richer and a little thicker. So really it's more of a personal preference, and however you decide to go about this, you can't really choose wrong. But for this instance, I'm gonna be using sour cream. Now for all these recipes, we are gonna be utilizing our box mac and cheese recipe, which means we start by boiling 6 cups of water. I need 1 more of these. There we go. And then after our pasta's cooked, we're gonna be going in with our milk and our butter as directed on the box. So before we get ahead of ourselves, we need to boil the water. And now that we're lightly boiling, we're just gonna go ahead and add in a nice pinch of salt, 2 pinches. And then according to our box directions, we are looking to cook this for 6 minutes. Don't forget to remove your cheese packet, and then we'll just add this in. Now, technically speaking, on the box, it says 7 to 8 minutes, but it also says 6 minutes if you want it a little firmer. And I think, in all honesty, that's like my biggest complaint about box mac and cheese is that 9 times out of 10, it's way overcooked pasta. So we're gonna go with the 6-minute option because I think it's gonna be better. Also, don't forget to stir, because the last thing you want is for your pasta water to bubble over. That sucks a lot. I'm gonna turn this bubble down. And now that our timer has gone off, we're just gonna go ahead and remove a little bit of pasta water just in case we need it, because it's always better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And then we're gonna strain it. And then now into our pot on very low heat, we're gonna go ahead and add in our 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1/4 cup of whole milk, both of which come from the directions on the box. Our very delicious, don't judge it, if you're judging it, you're lying, cheese powder, followed by our shredded cheese. Now at this point, we want to just get everything nice and homogeneous, get our cheese nice and melty. You want this on a very low heat because you do not want that cheese to break. You just want it to melt down nice and smooth. And we're looking a little thick, so I'm going to add in a little pasta water just to thin it out a bit and help to emulsify that cheese all together. And then now that our cheese is mostly melted together, we can go ahead and add in our dollop of sour cream, which in measurement terms, we're looking for about a 1/4 cup. And we can mix all that in together. Now we can just add back in our pasta and fold it all together until it is nicely homogeneous. And as you can see, it looks fairly similar, fairly identical to the just straight up box mac and cheese, but it's got a little extra cheese pulley to it. And it's gonna have a little bit more cheesy flavor, just like that. Ooh, look at that. That is gold. And then now we can just go ahead and plate this up, and we'll garnish with some of those thinly sliced green onions. And now before we move on to level 2, I need to take a moment to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. Uber Eats saves my butt more often than I'm proud to admit. When I'm in the middle of filming one of these videos and I realize I'm missing a key ingredient, which unfortunately happens to me a lot, I can't just stop everything and run out. If I did, I'd have to turn all the cameras off, I'd have to shut down all the lights, I'd have to cover all the food because of the cats, drive to the store and then drive back, and then I'd have to reset everything. And then suddenly one missing ingredient has cost me well over an hour. But with Uber Eats, I just pull out my phone, order what I need, and it shows up at my door while I keep working. There's no need to stress out or stop what I'm doing. And honestly, it also solves another problem for me, because when I'm filming for hours, I forget to eat, like fully forget. So when I still have hours to go before I finish, all I have to do is look through the suggestions on the app to find something delicious that I can have delivered right away. So whether it's groceries, a missing ingredient, or just food so I can keep going, Uber Eats makes it easy. I can browse, order, track it, and then just get back to what I'm doing. And if any of that sounds good to you, go ahead and use my code IAN15 for $15 off your first order of $20 or more. And thank you to Uber Eats for sponsoring this video. Now for our level 2 mac and cheese, I'm getting a double dose of nostalgia, because not only are we making Blue Box mac and cheese, but it's also gonna be paying tribute to another wonderful boxed dinner that I enjoyed growing up, and I think a lot of people did as well, Hamburger Helper. Hamburger Helper was like a specialty treat. Like it's not quite boxed mac and cheese, it's not quite like a full like made from scratch thing, which is totally fine, but it had a little extra. I had a little extra something, and you know, it had a little love in it. And it's something that I, to this day, still very much enjoy. It is a guilty comfort food that I will sit on the couch and eat the entire pot full, because I don't have self-control. But with that, we're starting with 2 ounces of shredded medium cheddar cheese. Again, you know the shtick, please don't use pre-shredded cheese, but if you do have trouble grating cheese, or you know, there's a physical impediment that you just can't grate cheese, totally understand. The hack for that is to go to the deli counter and you get sliced cheese and then just cut the sliced cheese up, and then there you go. Even then, like technically speaking, you don't even have to cut up the sliced cheese. Like it's cut thin enough that you'll be chilling. And on the topic of sliced cheese, we have 2 ounces of American cheese, which for this package is 3 slices. Beautiful. This is gonna give us that cheeseburgery taste and feel, and it's just gonna be delicious, and you're gonna love it. Got it? You're gonna love it. See, I'm not even cutting that cheese up. Like it's just gonna go in like that. It's gonna be fine. And now for the burger part of our cheeseburger mac and cheese, we're gonna be going with half a pound of ground beef. I went to my butcher counter for this, and so I only paid $3, which was fantastic. But you can also just use the prepackaged stuff. It just might be a little more meat than you need. Half a pound. And now, what does every good quality cheeseburger need? Onions. So we have half a yellow onion that I'm going to cut into half again, so it gives us a quarter of a yellow onion. And then I'm just gonna give this a very rough dice, because I do want chunks of onion within the mac and cheese, because that's gonna give us that onion bit in the mac and cheese, you know, like on a burger. So I got some fairly thick slivers, and then I'm gonna give it a nice large dice. You can also get a similar, or not similar, you can also get an equally delicious outcome by using dehydrated onions and then rehydrating them, because that's a very common thing in fast food burger joints, and it gives you that like fast food burger feel. So if you like that, then you get dehydrated onions and just throw them in some water, rehydrate them, and then it'll be like a Big Mac mac and cheese or something. It'll be good. And then last up for our cheeseburger, we're going to be adding in a few slices of bacon, because who doesn't love a bacon cheeseburger? Got 3 slices of some Wright brand bacon. They're not a sponsor, but they are delicious. Cutting that up into about 1/2 inch thick slices, just to give us a nice little bacony bite, so that way I can really taste it and it doesn't just melt away into the burger, into the mac and cheese, not the burger. Now for our meat onion mixture, we're going to need to season it. And in the spirit of our quick, easy, and simple recipe ideas that this whole thing is supposed to be quick and easy and simple and not too complicated, we're gonna use a pre-made seasoning blend. This is Traeger anything rub, which is salt, garlic, pepper, spices, those sorts of things. But you can use truthfully any sort of seasoning salt, any like Lowry's, any sort of all-purpose rub, anything like that will do the trick. But if you would like to make one from scratch, here you go. You can use this, it'll be delicious. Great. But anyways, we're gonna add about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more to this of our seasoning blend. And then from there, we can give it all a great mix. Not a good mix, a great one. And then now we're just ready to cook. Now in a 10-inch skillet, I'm gonna go ahead and preheat up to medium-high heat. And then once it's adequately preheated, because I made beef tallow in a previous video, I'm gonna go ahead and use some of this, but you are more than welcome just to use regular neutral oil. This is just gonna give us a nice little base layer to help prevent any stickage and to get really good color and flavor. Then we can go ahead and just move in our beef mixture. And the important thing that we wanna do here is flatten this out as flat and as even as we can get it, because the flatter it is, the more contact we're making and the better sear we're gonna get. I also wanna mention that I am boiling the water and the pasta back here, because you don't need to see me do that twice or 3 times. Like that's Same thing, boil water, 6 cups, cook noodles, 6 minutes. Get pasta water, strain, that's it. And after a few minutes, everything should nicely release, and then you should have some nice seared brown bits from your meat, and those onions should start to have gotten very soft. Not very soft, just they start to get soft. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. So from here, we're just gonna go ahead and start breaking up that meat into bite-sized pieces because we want to make sure this spreads out amongst our mac and cheese. We want bite-sized pieces all throughout, and we don't want large chunks of meat that overtake everything else. But you also don't want like little granular pieces of meat, so, you know, be thoughtful. And then it's important to remember that you also have bacon in here. So you wanna make sure that that gets all the way cooked through. So make sure you're moving those around, make sure nothing's staying close to the top. If it's staying close to the top, then it's not gonna be cooked, and you're gonna have really chewy bacon, and that's gonna be gross. Alternatively, you could also just cook the two things separately. You could cook the bacon and then the beef, and you could cook the onion separately too, but then it's gonna take you longer, so like, just didn't do it all at once because it works. Whatever's easiest for you. Now this has cooked for another about 3 to 4 minutes. And I can see that that bacon is cooked through. Our meat is nice and seared. It's got good color. So we can go ahead and remove this into a clean bowl. Now you could optionally strain this now and get rid of all that grease, but the way that I see it is all that grease is just going to sink to the bottom. So before we add it into our mac and cheese, we're just going to scoop it versus dump it, leave all the grease behind. Now we have our cooked meat and we have our cooked pasta, and we're gonna go ahead and make our sauce, which again, starts very simply. 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, a 1/4 cup of whole milk, our packet of delicious cheese sauce, well, cheese powder, and then our shredded cheese from before. Now, with this on very low heat, we're gonna go ahead and stir and fold all of this together until it's nice and melty and smooth and incorporated. Adding in a touch of pasta water to help emulsify everything together. And remember, the most important part of this whole process right now is just doing this on a very low heat because you do not let me repeat this. You do not want to break your cheese sauce. If you break your cheese and it gets all grainy, it's gonna be gross. So just do this on low heat. Take your time. And it's really not that much time. It's like a couple minutes. And then once it is mostly fully melted, we're gonna go ahead and add in our pasta. For those wondering why I keep using my hand and not the spoon, it's because I don't wanna get cheese sauce inside this colander because I still need to use it for the next recipe. And I don't wanna have to wash it out again. So that's why. Now we can carefully fold and mix all of this together. Oop, we're spilling. And as we can see, it's starting to really come together, very nice and cheesy. Look at that, good cheese pull. That's all we're looking for here. And then now, once that's all mixed together, nicely incorporated, we can go ahead and add in our meat mixture. That sounds gross. We can go ahead and add in our ground beef, onions, and bacon. Remember, we're not going to dump because we've got some grease in there that we want to leave behind. Now we can just fold it all together. Oh yeah, that's cheeseburger mac and cheese. That's good stuff. I mean, come on, look at this thing. It's a cheeseburger and it's mac and cheese all in one. It tastes delicious. It's an efficient method to get both things inside your mouth at the same time, and it's just awesome. Now for our third, and in my opinion, the best way to upgrade your box mac and cheese, level 3 pizza mac and cheese. Now, one of the beautiful things about this recipe is it requires little to no prep. It really is just grating up 4 ounces of Fontina cheese. That's it. The rest of the work will come when we build our cheese sauce. But for now, slowly but surely, we're gonna grate this Fontina cheese with a device that is made for grating, but it's not a box grater. It's not the most effective way to do this. Seriously, can someone please go back through the videos and just like figure out where I put it, because I can't find it. And that's it. Now we just have to cook it. Gotta cook your pasta first. How are you guys doing? How's your week been? Anything new? Anything special? Any updates? Let me know. I'm interested. This is the last Capri Sun in my house. I need to get more. Now, while we wait for the pasta to cook, we're gonna go ahead and start with our sauce. And for that, we're gonna need our 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Then we're gonna go ahead and add in, sorry, almost dropped it, 7 to 8 sun-dried tomatoes. You can go a little less, you can go a little more. It's more of a personal preference sort of thing. And you're probably wondering why we're using a skillet instead of a pot. And the reason is because we want the most amount of surface area, because we're going to cover this all with cheese, and we're gonna bake it, and it's gonna be delicious. Now, in addition to our sun-dried tomatoes, we're also going to add in about a teaspoon of tomato paste, as well as half a teaspoon of garlic powder that is stuck to the inside of my bowl, and about half a teaspoon of oregano, dried oregano. That's gonna help give us that pizza-esque flavor within our cheese sauce. And then once you've given those spices a chance to bloom, we're gonna go ahead and add in our milk, a 1/4 cup again, followed by our wonderful cheese packet, our shredded Fontina. And remember earlier we talked about sour cream versus cream cheese? Well, now we're gonna go with cream cheese. We are going with just about a 1/4 cup of that. Now from here, we want to gently mix all this together, getting that cheese to become nice and melty, and incorporate fully. Now that cheese has really started to melt here, we're gonna go ahead and add in our pasta water just to thin it up a bit, as well as help that cheese to emulsify nice and smooth. Remember, the important thing here is that you are doing this on a very low heat. You do not want to break your cheese. As you break it, it's gonna get grainy. I've said it 1,000 times, but there's truly nothing sadder than like working really hard at making something and then like a little mistake, like letting your cheese get too hot, break, and then be sad, and then it's just all sad. All sad, 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 very sad. Once we are looking nice, silky, and emulsified, we can go ahead and use our spoon this time because I have no more mac and cheese to make after this, and add in all of our pasta. From here, we'll just carefully mix it all together until everything is nice and homogeneous. Ooh, cheese down. Delicious. And now that everything has fully mixed and combined into a beautiful mac and cheese, we're gonna go ahead and turn off our heat, give this one final stir, and we're gonna get this relatively even, flat-ish. Ish is the important word here. Now we can go ahead and open up some freshly sliced mozzarella, and we're gonna go ahead and lay that all around the top. You don't need to go crazy here, but you definitely do want some pretty solid cheese coverage. Roughly about 4 to 5 ounces of cheese just laid across the top. Then we'll go ahead and crack open some pepperonis, and I'm not gonna give you a measurement for this. This is to your heart's content, but I'm gonna go nuts. I'm gonna add a lot here. And truthfully, you could do whatever topping you really wanted to. If you wanted to do sausage, you could do Italian sausage. If you wanted to do olives, you like olives, right? People like olives on pizza, for sure. Yeah, you can do olives, but really it's just whatever pizza topping that you want. And then once it's fully covered with all the toppings that your heart desires, we can go ahead and throw in the oven underneath the broiler for about 3 to 4 minutes, or just until our cheese is melty and those pepperonis have crisped up into beautiful little crisp pepperonis. Coming through, very hot, very delicious. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I really hope that you learned something. Here's a photo of me and my friend Tyler, and I'll see you next week.